Welcome to humanity. How did you pick the brand and what are you doing to amplify that brand?
Yeah, really good question. So, I really, it goes back a long ways. We could go all the way back to the day I was born if you wanted to, but there was maybe that was the sign that I saw on the way coming out that first day in March 1st of 1958. It was like, hey, Fred, welcome to humanity. And what was there was my parents and my two older brothers. And, my job was to bring some degree of authenticity to a world that was in some degree of chaos, like to bring some degree of peace, some degree of pleasure, some degree of maybe levity, some degree of honest integrity to that world. And that's what I did. It's like punch the clock as soon as I arrived and really started going like that. I was raised, I was precocious. My brothers were quite a bit older than me, so they taught me everything I needed to know long before should have learned about it. And, life went on. And so much of what I did was really, in some ways, to learn how to be a boy like my brothers, maybe a man like my brothers. And so, I really just chased that down. When I was really a great student because I was precocious, but eventually school didn't work out for me. And I just saw that everything that ever happens, it seems to happen through communication, it seems to happen through human connection. I feel like I learned that when I was a child. And I did know that when I was a child. The opportunity was, it seemed like school itself and the conventional educational system was not really focused on that. It was instead focused on shutting me down. There's no elementary school teacher who forgot having Fred in their class, that's for sure. And it kind of was like I eventually learned that I had to be quiet and just learn how to regurgitate what the teacher or the professor put on the board or put it in the course. And to me, that wasn't discourse, and it wasn't a way to communicate. It wasn't a way to connect. It wasn't a way to move this whole thing called the conversation forward.
Yeah.
I dropped out of school a couple of times. I dropped out of University of Michigan, and I came to Berkeley and tried to get my life together. In fact, I did pretty well, but eventually decided I better go back to school and tried again. It didn't work again. I dropped out again. I told my mom I'd never go back to school again, ever, never, ever. It's like, this shit doesn't work. I'm not going to do that. It shuts me down. I love Ann Arbor a little too much, but I'm not going to go back to school. So she said, that's fine. You have to get a job. I was like, moms will be like that, right? So get a job. Yeah. On January 5th, 1980, I got a job as a child care worker at a state mental health facility for adolescent boys, among other things. But my unit was adolescent boys. And I thought I'd stay for about 3 or 4 weeks, get myself enough money to buy myself a Volkswagen and then cruise around the country and figure out what my life was about. But in reality, Rich, what has happened is I've been a child care worker for the last 44 years. The opportunity is I'm just a refined child care worker who picked off an MD along the way, because what happened was I really learned that communication and connection really is at the heart of all healing, of all conditions, of all types when I was working over there at Fairlawn Center in northern Detroit. Meaning these kids, they were only 6-7 years younger than me, and we healed each other by having these beautiful communications and conversations. And, the thing I hated about that job was psychiatry.